Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to sort through a whole stack of sources and pull out the insights that really matter, saving you time.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that feeling like you're just reacting to whatever life throws at you instead of, actively living it? Or maybe wondered if getting that truly fulfilling life is just down to luck or if it's something you can actually design?
That's the big question, isn't it? So many people feel this gap between who they feel they really are and what their everyday life looks like. And this deep dive, it's all about intentional living. It's about moving past just dreaming and actually consciously building the life you want.
Exactly. So our goal today is to take the best, most actionable ideas from all these different sources and give you a clearer path, a way to become the architect of your own happiness. We've looked at Dan DeMarquet's Design Your Dream Life and some related analysis. We've also got these really powerful personal stories like Kath Kyle's on manifesting her dream life, plus some practical step-by-step plans and some fascinating visualization techniques from Jack Canfield. Get ready for maybe a few aha moments that could really shift how you think about things.
Okay, let's jump right in with that core idea. Designing your life, not just drifting through it. Dan DeMarque, in his book, he basically argues that a meaningful life isn't random chance. It's the direct result of conscious design. He puts a lot of emphasis on aligning your passions with deliberate actions. But what's his unique angle on this? How does it go beyond just, sounding nice?
Well, what's really interesting in DeMarquet's approach is how he looks at why people drift. He argues it's often not a lack of ambition, but this kind of invisible disconnect. A disconnect between your authentic self, your real values, your true desires, and how you actually live day to day, often just reacting. So design isn't about some rigid blueprint. It's more about bringing those hidden parts of yourself out into the open and connecting them to what you do every day.
Oh, okay. So it's a fundamental shift then, from reacting to life to being proactive, really taking charge, leading to hopefully lasting fulfillment, not just those quick hits of happiness. Sounds great, very empowering. But I can imagine some people might hear architect of happiness and think, wow, that sounds like a lot of pressure. How does DeMarque suggest we start?
It usually starts small. It's about cultivating certain key principles in your daily life, building that mindset where you're actively shaping your reality kind of bit by bit. And yeah, he outlines several pillars to help with that.
Okay, perfect segue. Let's talk about those key principles DeMarque lays out. First one, the power of intentionality. We hear intention thrown around a lot. What's the specific way DeMarque defines it that makes it more, well, actionable?
Right. He sees intentionality not just as like setting a goal, but as making conscious choices and taking deliberate actions that are truly in harmony with your deeper goals and values. It's about moving through life with purpose, not just running on autopilot. And the key nuance is how this transforms even everyday routines into something meaningful. Like, think about just making coffee. If you do it mindfully, intentionally, you're not just getting caffeine, you're engaging fully the smell, the warmth. It's about being present and purposeful even in tiny actions, and that builds up.
I like that. Makes it feel less abstract. So for us as individuals, where do we start applying this?
Yeah. A really simple way is to start each day setting a clear intention. Maybe even write it down. Then, maybe at the end of the week, take 5 minutes to look back. Did my actions line up with my intentions? What could I tweak? Like, instead of just scrolling on your phone during lunch, you could intentionally use that time to read a book related to a skill you want, really using those little pockets of time.
Makes sense. And what about for teams? How does intentionality work in a group setting beyond just having a task list?
For teams, it starts with establishing a really clear why for every project. Why are we doing this? How does it fit the bigger picture? And meetings need to be intentional too. Clear agenda, specific outcomes, someone facilitating to keep things on track. Imagine, say, a marketing team launching something. They first define the core purpose, the why, making sure every ad, every post serves that central goal, prevents that scattered feeling.
Okay, that leads nicely into the next principle. Authenticity as a North Star. So if intentionality is about what we do, DeMarque seems to say it only really works if it aligns with who we are. Authenticity. How does he suggest we find that North Star?
Yeah, it's definitely a journey of self-discovery. Authenticity means finding and really embracing your true self, letting go of what society expects, and living by your genuine values. He uses the analogy of a tree, like rooted deep, standing strong in its own way, not swayed by every trend. When your actions match your inner self, you get this sense of integrity, this inner peace. And DeMarque sees that as fundamental for real fulfillment.
Okay, so individually, how do we start finding that North Star and, actually live by it?
Well, a good starting point is doing some values clarification exercises, really digging into what your top, say, 5 core values are and what they mean to you. Then practice saying no sometimes. Saying no to things that just don't feel right, that don't align with those values. For instance, if family time is truly a core value, maybe you turn down a promotion that requires tons of travel, even if it looks good on paper. It's about honoring your own internal compass.
And in a team environment, how does authenticity show up professionally?
It could mean designing roles around people's actual strengths and interests where possible, and creating a culture where people feel safe to speak up, to share ideas honestly, even if they disagree, like fostering real dialogue. A software team, for example, might let developers have some say in the projects they work on, picking things they're genuinely passionate about. That usually leads to better work, more engagement.
Makes sense. Now, Demark also talks about being present, which brings us to mindfulness in action. How is this different from just, say, meditating for 10 minutes?
Mindfulness in action is about being fully present and engaged in whatever you're doing, moment by moment. It naturally boosts your self-awareness. It's observing what's happening inside you and around you without judging it, just noticing. So it's not just a separate practice, it's how you engage with everything. Like a sculptor carefully shaping clay, really focused, or an artist mindfully applying paint. It's active.
Yeah, I could definitely relate. I catch myself multitasking constantly. So what's a simple way to practice this mindfulness individually during a busy day?
One easy thing is just setting a reminder, maybe a few times a day, to pause, take 1 minute, and just focus on your breath. Just to reset. And practice single tasking. When you notice your mind wandering or you're trying to juggle things, gently bring your focus back to the one thing you're doing. A really practical example. When you're talking to someone, put your phone away, give them your full attention, actually listen. It totally changes the quality of the interaction. And for teams, maybe start meetings with just 60 seconds of silence. Helps everyone mentally arrive and be present. Or establishing dedicated deep work blocks, times when interruptions are really minimized so people can focus on complex stuff. I know some design teams have tried no meeting Wednesdays to create that space for focused creative work, because real breakthroughs often need that kind of sustained attention.
Okay, next up, passion as a compass. This feels like a big one, the real fuel for a dream life. How does D. Mark distinguish between just a passing interest and this idea of passion as a true compass?
He frames passion not just as something you enjoy, but as this powerful ongoing signal of your unique purpose. It's the stuff that genuinely energizes you, fulfills you from the inside out, guiding your choices in life and work. It's that intrinsic motivation, the thing you do even if nobody paid you. It points towards your unique contribution. And when you follow it, effort feels less like work.
Right, so how do we tap into that individually
Yeah.
and then bring it into our lives without it feeling like just another thing on the to-do list?
Maybe dedicate a little time each month just to explore something new that sparks your curiosity. It could be anything, a painting class, learning to code, volunteering. But more than that, look for small ways to weave your passions into what you already do. Like, say you're an accountant, but you're passionate about the environment. Maybe you volunteer your accounting skills for a local green nonprofit, finding purpose even alongside your main job.
And for teams, how can leaders harness passion to get better results?
Some companies famously use 20% time, right? Letting people spend a fifth of their work time on projects they're personally passionate about, even if it's not directly tied to their main job, or just having informal sessions where people share what excites them outside of work. You hear stories from tech companies where someone's side project during that 20% time actually led to a major new product feature. Passion really does fuel innovation.
Okay, and the final pillar, strategic action and consistent effort. This is where it all comes together, yeah, where the vision meets reality. How does Demark suggest we translate all this, the intentionality, authenticity, passion, into actual results?
Yeah, this is crucial. He stresses that a dream life isn't just about having a vision, it demands execution, disciplined execution. It means breaking down those big dreams into smaller, manageable steps, and then applying consistent effort day in, day out. This is what bridges the gap between dreaming and doing. It stops you from feeling overwhelmed and helps build momentum.
So how do we actually do that on a personal level?
Take any big goal you have. Yeah, Sarah's story is a good one. She was feeling stuck, unfulfilled in her corporate design job. She realized her real passion wasn't just design in general, but specifically helping small, sustainable businesses, eco-friendly brands. That wasn't just finding a niche, it was aligning with her deep personal values. That's the authenticity piece. Then came the strategy. She saved up an emergency fund, built a portfolio by doing projects for sustainable brands in her evenings, and clearly defined her new target market. The hard part was the transition, the fear of leaving a stable job. But her passion kept her going.
And the outcome. What happened when she made that leap?
Within about a year, she'd left the corporate world. And importantly, she wasn't just happier, she was actually earning more than before and had total control over her time and projects. Her authentic passion kind of acted like a magnet, drawing in the clients she really wanted to work with. It turned her work into something genuinely meaningful. Shows how values can drive a successful business.
And then there's the company example, Innovate Inc., a tech startup that applied intentionality, authenticity, and passion at the organizational level.
Right. The founders were apparently very intentional from the start about building a purpose-driven culture, not just chasing profits. They hired not just for skills, but for people who genuinely connected with their mission and values. They encouraged open communication, gave teams real autonomy, some say in the projects they tackled. Now, it wasn't easy. It probably took longer to find the right people, set up those structures. They had to resist cutting corners on their values for quick growth.
But what was the payoff in the end?
While they ended up with much lower employee turnover than average, incredibly high engagement levels, and their team was more innovative, creating a breakthrough product that competitors found hard to copy. Their strong, intentional culture actually became a competitive advantage, attracting talent and customers. It really shows that designing for purpose works for organizations too, not just individuals.
That's powerful stuff. But okay, it's clearly not just about logical planning and action steps. There's a huge inner component too. Which brings us to visualization and manifestation. Jack Canfield, the chicken soup for the soul guy, he has some really strong views on this.
Oh, absolutely. Canfield is a huge believer in daily visualization. He argues that picturing your dreams as already complete can massively speed up achieving them. And he's clear, it's not just vague daydreaming. It's about creating clear, vivid mental images of your goals, the process, and the end result as if they've already happened. The real key for him is the feeling and the detail you put into it.
Okay, so when we say vivid imagination, what exactly is visualization in Canfield's view? How does it work on a deeper level than just, say, positive thinking?
Fundamentally, visualization is about creating this powerful, positive mental movie in your head, showing your desired outcome. Canfield explains it as essentially programming your subconscious mind. When you do this consistently, you're basically telling your subconscious what to look for. It starts actively seeking out opportunities, people, resources that match that vision. It works by aligning your inner beliefs with what you want externally.
Interesting. Are there different ways to visualize? Different types?
Yes, Canfield points out two main types, and he says using both is best. First is outcome visualization. That's focusing on what life looks like after you've achieved the goal. It's the why, the motivation, the end picture, acts like a magnet pulling you forward. Then there's process visualization. This is where you mentally rehearse the steps needed to get there. This one's really good for reducing anxiety and building confidence because you've already walked through the process in your mind. It feels more doable.
And what are the concrete benefits? Besides just feeling hopeful, what does visualization actually do for us?
Yeah, it's surprisingly practical. First, it activates your creative subconscious. You start getting your ideas, seeing solutions you hadn't thought of. Second, it primes your brain to notice resources and opportunities you might have missed otherwise. Your awareness shifts. Third, proponents say it activates the law of attraction, drawing people and circumstances to you. Fourth, it definitely builds internal motivation and boosts confidence because you've mentally succeeded already. Fifth, it can lower stress because you mentally work through potential obstacles beforehand. And finally, like athletes practicing in their minds, it sets you up for better performance when the time comes in the real world.
And Canfield himself is proof, right? He talks about using these techniques to go from broke to earning six figures, writing all those best-selling books, buying property in Maui, even improving his relationship with his son. He even visualizes speaking to huge audiences to overcome his introversion.
Exactly, and he's quick to point out it's not just him. Olympic athletes visualize perfect routines, CEOs mentally rehearse tough negotiations, entrepreneurs visualize successful launches. It's a tool used consistently by high achievers.
Okay, so if we want to start using this power, what are some specific techniques Canfield recommends? What's the absolute first step?
The first step sounds simple, but it's vital. Know what you want, be specific, pick one dream or goal, and get really, really clear on the details. Vague goals get vague results. The clearer it is, the better your subconscious can grab onto it.
Got it. Clarity first.
Then what about this mental rehearsal technique? Sounds more active than just watching a mental movie.
Yeah, this is a big one. Used a lot by performers and athletes. You find about 5 quiet minutes when you're relaxed. First, imagine you're in a cinema, watching yourself on screen perfectly achieving your goal. See everything what you're wearing, your expression, the environment, hear the sounds, feel the success. Second, and this is key, you mentally walk into the screen, experience the scene from inside yourself. Feel the sensations, the emotions. This embodied image makes it much more potent. Third, step back out, grab the screen image, shrink it down to the size of a cracker, and imagine eating it. Feel it activating every cell in your body with that success pattern. Sounds quirky, but it's designed to really embed it deep in your subconscious.
That's definitely memorable. What about vision boards? I've heard of those, but Canfield seems to put a special emphasis on them.
Yeah, for Canfield, a vision board isn't just a nice collage, it's a powerful daily visual anchor. It's a collection of images and words that represent your achieved goals, the feelings, the objects, the experiences. He tells that amazing story about Chicken Soup for the Soul. They literally took a New York Times bestseller list, scanned it, typed their book title into the hashtag one spot, printed it out, and put it up everywhere. And less than 2 years later, they hit hashtag one and stayed there for ages. He advises putting everything on there: career, money, health, relationships, possessions. Create a full picture. The power is in seeing it constantly, reinforcing the belief.
That is an incredible story. What other daily practices does he suggest?
Simple things like write on index cards. Just write your main goals on small cards, read them aloud every day, and spend maybe 15 seconds visualizing each one as already done. The physical card and speaking it out loud adds layers of reinforcement. Another classic is use affirmations. Positive statements, always in the present tense, as if they're already true. Like, I am joyfully running my successful business from my beachfront home. Focus only on what you do want, never on what you lack or fear.
Okay, and he mentions creating triggers for the subconscious. How does that work?
That's about linking a sensory experience to your visualization. Like maybe you always listen to a specific piece of music or smell a certain essential oil while you're doing your visualization. Then throughout the day, you expose yourself to that trigger, play the song, smell the oil. It acts as an anchor, instantly bringing back the feelings and images of your goal. Helps hardwire it into your brain, especially if part of you still doubts it's possible.
Right, so it's about making it feel more real, more present for your brain. Does actually being present in the now help visualization?
Absolutely. Canfield stresses living in the moment. He suggests doing your visualization rituals maybe morning and night, but then release the outcome, let it go, and focus on being fully present and engaged in your day. Paradoxically, this often allows opportunities to show up more easily. He also suggests simple grounding techniques like incorporate sensory experiences, just feeling your feet on the floor, noticing the air temperature. Anything that pulls you out of your head and into the present moment makes your mind clearer and your visualization potentially more effective.
So it's this interesting balance: dream big, visualize clearly, but then live fully right now. And finally, Canfield really emphasizes that we need to expect real results.
Yes. He insists these aren't just feel-good exercises. By consistently doing this, writing goals, visualizing, affirming, you are literally retraining your brain. You're changing your core beliefs about what's possible for you. You're getting your brain cells aligned and working towards your desires. He links it strongly to the law of attraction, essentially saying that maintaining this positive expectancy and belief is what draws your desired reality towards you.
This connects perfectly to actually applying all this consistently in the real world. And Kath Kyle's story, wow, it's an almost unbelievable example of these principles really working.
Her story is pretty wild, yeah. Because she didn't just manifest one or two things, she seems to have manifested her entire vision. We're talking dream family husband, 2 kids, dream business, working from home for herself, sea views, only needing about 3 hours a day, doing creative work she loves. She also fully recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome after 6 years, became really active.
And there's more, right? She overcame serious depression and anxiety, found real joy, got a dream home, waterfront, safe area, walking distance to multiple beaches, warm climate, and made the most amazing part, ending up living near her extended family who had been scattered all over the globe. Plus, significant financial stability. It's like the full package.
It really is. But the crucial lesson is in her failures first. She says just writing goals down didn't do much, and actively trying to force things like trying to earn enough to make her husband quit his job when he didn't want to, or pushing her family to move overseas when they weren't keen, that just created resistance. It didn't work.
So what was the big shift, the insight that changed everything for her?
Her key realization was this idea of co-creating reality. You set the clear vision, the what, but then you absolutely have to let go of the how. Stop trying to control every step. That was the turning point. Trusting that the universe, or however you want to frame it, would handle the details once the intention was clear.
And did she use a specific technique when she had this breakthrough?
Yes. She developed something she calls my perfect Groundhog Day design. Basically, she wrote down in super vivid detail what her ideal perfect day would look like if she lived it over and over again. Every aspect: work, money, exercise, food, fun, family, health. She wrote it just once to get crystal clear. Then she'd just mentally revisit it maybe once a week, really feeling the emotions of living that day.
Okay, so after years of struggle, how quickly did things change once she adopted this letting go approach?
It was shockingly fast. She says it only took about 3 months. Her husband, totally out of the blue, decided to apply for a job in the exact country she'd visualized, near her family. They moved quickly. Even her parents decided to move there too, within a year. She even mentioned the weather that year was unseasonably sunny, just like she'd pictured. It's a powerful story about releasing control.
That's incredible. And it highlights consistency and mindset. Now, we also have this blueprint framework for daily action from an online community source. This one really focuses on the idea that big change comes from this sensitive waltz between planning, action, and reflection, not just grand gestures. The author saw results in like 1.5 months.
Yeah, the core idea of the blueprint is relentless consistency. The author says you must do the planned actions every single day, no matter what. The rationale is that repetition makes ideas feel like truth in our minds. It combats doubt, it combats the pull towards mediocrity you might get from your environment. They even strongly advise not sharing your goals with people you perceive as mediocre, because they might plant seeds of doubt. It's about fiercely protecting your mindset.
Wow, that's a strong take. Okay, so what are the 4 pillars of this blueprint?
First is aim. Define measurable characteristics of your ideal life. Very specific. The author's examples were things like feeling good consistently, 3D milers net worth by 35, passionate remote work allowing travel, meeting new interesting people weekly, strong family-friend bonds, inspiring social circle, constant travel, building community, specific targets.
Okay, clear aim, then comes the daily plan.
Exactly, a daily plan with maybe 10, 15 specific actions across 6 categories. Nourish. Basic well-being, prioritizing sleep, good food, maybe meditation, sauna, things like that. Win. Tackling tasks you've been avoiding or find difficult. Paying that bill, finishing that tough work task. Builds confidence quickly. Contribute. Adding value to others or your community, like writing a helpful Twitter thread about something you know well.
Makes sense. What are the other categories in the plan?
Purpose. Working on a goal that feels bigger than just you. The author mentioned working on a game engine as their example, a passion project with meaning, face fears, doing something small each day that scares you a bit, builds courage, could be introducing yourself to someone new, making a difficult phone call, and living live, intentionally having new experiences to avoid getting stuck in a rut, trying cryotherapy, going to a new cafe, visiting a museum, keeping life fresh.
So you plan these daily actions across the categories. Then comes reflect. How does that pillar work?
It's about consciously learning from your actions. Regularly, maybe daily or weekly, jotting down in a journal what worked, what didn't, then doing a more structured weekly and monthly review. Extracting lessons, making lists. What should I keep doing? What should I stop doing? What should I start doing? Like realizing that staying up late consistently ruins the next day leads to putting stop staying up late on your list.
And the final pillar, avoid traps. Sounds important for staying on track.
Definitely. This involves creating an explicit list of traps, specific actions or situations you know lead to negative outcomes for you. The example given was drinking more than 2 glasses of wine leads to a hangover and a wasted day. So, drinking 2 glasses of wine goes on the traps list. You review this list daily to proactively steer clear of your known self-sabotage patterns.
And the author of this blueprint framework shared that they were living their dream life, remote AI work, travel, community by age 25. After following this for just over 3 months, it really underscores the power of that focused daily consistency.
And crucially, to avoid burnout from this intensity, the advice is to cap the daily tasks, 10, 15 max, and allow for lighter days off with fewer blueprint items. Making it sustainable is key.
Lastly, let's touch on Suzanne Peng's freelancing journey, another practical example of designing a life. What drove her as a designer turned developer towards freelancing?
For Suzanne, it was primarily about freedom. Freedom to shape her work around her life, not the other way around. Freedom to build her own thing without limits, and the freedom of location independence. She felt constrained by the traditional 9 to 5 structure.
And what were the key process changes she made that really helped her succeed in that shift?
She highlighted a few things. Shifting from making assumptions about clients to doing deep discovery work up front to really understand their needs. This saved a lot of wasted effort. She also created a clear process, a funnel, for handling potential leads, which stopped her wasting time on unproductive inquiries. But maybe most importantly, she realized her service design or development was just a means to an end for the client. She started focusing on their underlying business goals and qualifying projects based on whether she could deliver tangible value towards those goals, not just code or pixels.
Smart shift in perspective.
Ah.
And what's her vision looking forward now that she's built this foundation?
She's planning to scale up, bring in more clients, potentially build a small dream team to collaborate with, and she's particularly interested in using her skills to work with nonprofits, finding ways to contribute her expertise to causes she believes in, aligning her work even more closely with her values.
So we've really covered a lot today, from Dan DeMark's core ideas about intentionality and authenticity to Jack Canfield's powerful visualization methods and these very practical daily frameworks like the blueprint. And hearing how people like Kath Kyle and Suzanne Peng actually applied these ideas to transform their lives.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway is that a truly fulfilling life isn't just some far-off dream or something that happens by accident. It's something you can consciously create. It takes clarity about what you want. It definitely takes consistent action. And maybe most importantly, that courage to look inside, define your own purpose, and be willing to let go of things that aren't serving that purpose anymore.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If your life right now is like a masterpiece you're painting, what's one new brushstroke, one intentional action you could choose to add today that would bring it closer to reflecting your true, deepest purpose?